Okay, so Bernie Sanders, the guy we just talked about it quite a bit. What's he been doing? Well, on the union front, things are moving really, really well. Let's talk about it. So most national unions have not picked their candidate quite yet. The article kind of goes into how they're still a little bit shell-shocked with the previous election because so many of them went for Clinton and, of course, against Bernie, which was a whole issue that we covered in the last election where the union membership was actually very much like the Working Families Party, but just with unions. The membership wanted Bernie, the leadership wanted Hillary, the leadership got what they wanted, and of course now they're on the outside of the Trump administration, which they don't like very much, so they're kind of holding their cards rather close. So even with all that, Sanders has still racked up to 11 labor endorsements, more than anyone else. I believe they go down. I think the next closest is Biden, who has 5, and then Warren, which has 3, and everyone else has less than that. And of course, I want to shout out Pete Buttigieg, is in a strong 4th place, tied with many other people with 0. But yeah, so this is good. This is a lot of unions are still moving towards Sanders' way. Looks like they're just really looking to see whether or not he's going to win. So I think as the election goes through and we have like the first 3 states, we should expect a lot more union endorsements when they see Sanders is, in fact, has the momentum, which will, of course, make a self-fulfilling prophecy. But Sanders has, of the 11 that he's endorsed, many of them are in places that are going to be especially helpful on Super Tuesday. And again, Biden only has 5. So I think that Bernie has about as many as everyone else combined, give or take a few. And so that's really nice that we have that. And it's good to see that this time around, and like last election, the unions are actually following through, even if at this point it's a lot of local or statewide unions. But again, they're in the states that matter. So if the national labor unions want to kind of hold off and wait to see where the chips fall, the way things are going, I think that's no big deal. I don't think that's going to affect Bernie negatively at all. It'd be nice that they did it now. But he has a lot of, like he has the SCIU Local 1984, which has 10,000 people, and this is in New Hampshire, a state of like, I don't know, 15,000 people. I know people in New Hampshire, I apologize for undervaluing the population of your state. But the union people are really happy. And here's a really big thing that we brought up before and that we've heard, especially in Nevada, which is that a lot of unions were very worried because they've put a lot of time and effort and negotiation into making sure that they can get health care paid for by all these employers that they work for. And a lot of people, especially in Nevada, were like, if we do Medicare for all these negotiations we put all of this time to were for naught. And so they've actually Bernie has added a provision into Medicare for all, which is exactly what we were saying he should have done. I think I said this about a month ago or so. That he needs to put some form of provision in so that basically I was saying that the money that they're saving gets automatically transferred into salaries, but in this case it just automatically resets the countdown for all negotiations so that the second that Medicare for all triggers into place, all unions are able to renegotiate their contracts, which I think is just as good. So that's really helpful.
So I know there's some pushback against that because some unions offer their own version of a healthcare plan, and so bigger unions. And so that's the interesting thing about this story is that you really want to get those federal level national unions on board, and I think a lot of them are holding out. I thought this paragraph from the story was particularly interesting. It says, local endorsements are filling the political void left by national unions, still gun-shy after the acrimonious 2016 primary election left many rank-and-file members furious that their leaders supported Hillary Clinton over Sanders. Most are staying neutral for now, including some that have long-standing relationships with Joe Biden. So the hope is, my hope anyway, is as we move forward, right, primaries are going to start very soon. Iowa is February 3rd? I think that's right.
I think so. It's going to be quite a day.
If Bernie wins Iowa, if Bernie wins New Hampshire is the one he's most likely to win of the first 3. And then he's also well positioned in Nevada. If he does well in all 3 of those, if he wins particularly all 3 of those, you would expect that national unions would be kind of nudged in that direction.
Yeah, and that's very much what we're hoping for. That's very much where everything is going, and he's peaking at the right moment. Like all the signs are happening at just the right time. It's like the four-dimensional game of chess is happening, and then we've kind of been like people have been talking about like should have Bernie been more aggressive or not? Well, if he wins, then he made the right call. Yeah, so I think that where we're at right now, Labor's kind of, it could be warmer, it could be better. They could be a little more understanding that, they've put a lot of work into these negotiations for healthcare, but it's still not an ideal system. And even labor groups that have their own healthcare, you can just give that money back to people. I mean, why not? That seems reasonable. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys apprised. But do you have anything else you want to add on this?
No, I mean, labor unions, by all accounts, they should all be supporting Bernie, it seems like. And I imagine as we move forward, we'll get there.